Welcome once again to the Biz Life Podcast. We're broadcasting live here from UNR Extension Studios in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. We are the Small Business Education Program. My name is Mike Bindrup, and I'm here joined with Carlos Gomez from the Latin Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Carlos. We're also here with Juan Mendez as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm with MCon Inc.
MCon Inc. Wonderful.
Yes, thank you for the invite.
Well, thank you for being here with us today. We're going to talk about project management today and get some insights, especially from Juan, about his business and how he started out and how he works. So do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself to us and tell us what you do, how you do?
Yes, my name is Juan Mendez. We do heavy civil construction.
Okay.
MCon Inc. is founded late 2008, early 2009. We do anything from grading to underground utilities.
Nice.
Power and telephone, gas, all those type of installs, yes.
And you started right in the middle of the recession.
It was tough. Before I started it, I was making ends meet one way or the other, working oddball things, hauling dirt out of lots and just getting paid what I could. And one day, I was laying block and I figured out, this really isn't for me. It was tough. I had a big, it just like a feeling that, I didn't really belong there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I ended up doing, I called a friend of mine to finish the block wall, just go ahead and bill for it. I didn't want any money. I just wanted him to finish because, you have to have integrity, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I told the homeowner we were going to get it done. We did, and he did it. And I went home and cleaned my living room. And then my wife was working at a clothing store at the time, and I still remember to this day. Every time I talk about it, I finished cleaning the living room. I went back in my house and sat on the couch, looked up at the ceiling. I said, "Hey, Lord, just give me guidance. I don't know what to do here." And
and he did.
And you know what? I had an overwhelming thought and feeling that if I opened up my business. If I got one job a month, just one, I could put food on the table, pay my bills, and take care of my family. When my wife got home, I told her, I go, look, I already have the trades. I need you to take the law, and she has the law, and she's held it together, and I'm very blessed to have a wife.
That's great.
And MCon got started. We
Great
put
story.
everything we had in there. We put, I think it was $10,000, and it grew from there to where it is today.
And I got to say, there's a lot to be said about having your spouse have your back when you're doing something entrepreneurial. It's because it's a tough road to go, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm sure other guys sharing the story would be like, yeah, I quit my job essentially. I went home, cleaned the house, and my wife came home and I just broke the news to her that I don't have a job anymore, and I want to just change gears, and here we go. And she said, absolutely. I support you.
She did. She did. At first, she looked at me a little off. She said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "No, let's just go ahead and do it." And she was right there, 100%.
That's great. And you do have to have the support of your spouse when you're doing something entrepreneurial. They may not understand it or understand your drive to do that necessarily. As long as they're supportive of it, that's very important. I've counseled a lot of small business owners, and they'll come in and say, my husband doesn't understand what I'm doing. I'm struggling with this. I come home at night and he goes, if you were working just a real job, you'd be home already, or, you made a lot more money when you were working than when you're doing that. And she's like, I'm trying to build the business, and it can put a lot of stress and strain on a relationship. So it's a very positive thing.
Absolutely. I mean, with me, we've always been a family working pretty hard in a way, and we sacrifice quite a bit. I sacrifice time with my kids.
Yeah.
My son, he's 25 now, and I only went to like a movie with him and stuff. Not that I want anybody to feel sorry for me or anything, but it's a sacrifice that you really got to think about if you're really willing to take the risk to build something, because it does come with a lot of hard work and sacrifice. Once you open that door, there's no closing it. All you got to do is if you have the mindset of success, no matter what, you're going to succeed.
Absolutely.
a lot of absence. Now that I'm where I'm at today, I'm finding more time to spend with them and enjoy, the fruits of my labor.
Exactly.
We risk quite a bit. I mean, the only money we had to start it was, like I said, 10,000, and it went from 3 employees to what I have today.
It blew it up. Good, good.
Yeah. Oh, and also let me add his wife. There's not only moral support. She has the column of the business. She has been there, and she always learning, and with the NCA taking courses just to the administration and construction. And I remember one day with the new office on close to Rancho, and I was there. Your little one was 3 months old, and she was on the side. She was working there along with Juan. So that's the fact that we want to tell everybody, that you get support from your family, not only moral, is not right there, putting the hands for you. That's a great thing. So I admire you, your wife, your family, and everything you do, Juan.
No, thank you. Yeah, and my son Ben, he goes to school here at
UNLV.
Yes, and there's a lot of things that he did for the business as well. So he started helping me out and supporting for our business, and he created certain. I got earlier. Juan asked me about how do you keep track and what do you do, and Ben came out with a program that showed us like a mini tab, they call it. I don't know. I have these young people working for me that I'm very blessed with, but. So it has the graph and growth per year and what we're doing and all of that. And I guess it's a secret I'm going to let out. But we look at our growth and make sure that is sustainable. Once you get to a certain level, I guess it's a decision whether you want to grow or you want to stay where you're at. And we were too far in to stop the growth, and it was tough. I mean, when we did the Raider Stadium. The demand was so high, and we never got really involved in a situation like that, project like that, and it was that was a gnarly one. I mean,
scary.
It ain't for the faint of heart. You know what? No, I'm very blessed. My mentor was Brady Stevens and Tori Ramber from Newcom and TAP, right? And I think you have to learn that you can't be prideful. You got to look at the fact that sometimes you create these relationships to not because you're trying to be, how can I say, just opportunistic. You create relationships to grow them. And I got asked in a way about how the company grew. And one of the things that I did was I mentioned to a couple of people, I go, look, at first you start as an acquaintance, and then that acquaintance becomes a friend. And then from a friend, it graduates into family, and family takes care of each other. So I think that a lot of my business partners, you can say, in the industry, we look at each other and watch out for each other.
Yeah.
And no matter who you are, it doesn't matter. As long as, you're working hard and you're willing to put the effort into it, there's no reason why success wouldn't happen. Success just happens.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I mean, when you spend hours and hours and you sleep 2-3 hours a day and and then you get up the next day even though you're going, and it gets sometimes you'll feel hopeless, but through that hopelessness is when you all of a sudden you see the reward, and it wakes you up and says this is what it was for.
Well, and quite often in small businesses, you start and you may have a couple of employees, right? You could take a job on that all of a sudden you have to hire triple the amount of people that you have working for you instantly. And now you're not just the boss, you're training people, you're HR, you're trying to do all this stuff. And I mean, your company can scale instantly almost by just one contract.
That's very true. I'll tell you that I'll go back to the stadium. We hired a project manager. We hired 2 more estimators, and these in my estimating department, they're very young. I have guys in there that are 19 and 20 years old doing takeoffs, and it's a big investment. But I think that if you look at society right now and what we have and the struggles are with labor, if you're able to give a young person an opportunity and show them that, hey, this is what you can grow into. To you're going from a scale of making, I don't know, $40,000-$50,000 a year to making 100, 120, 150, and you're willing to show them how you can get there. It's really up to them whether they want to take it or not. And I'm very blessed that some of my guys that are there, they're doing very well.
Well, being a good boss means making an investment into your people.
Absolutely.
Period. And I've written about this too. It's scary when you hire your first employee. And that poor first employee thinks, because you're like, they're going to save me.
Yeah.
This first employee is going to be my assistant, right? And no, it's just not. It's not good. You've never had an employee before. We've all had bad bosses, and once you hire an employee, you become the bad boss, like overnight, because you're not a great boss. You don't know all this stuff.
No, you don't. It's a huge learning curve, right? It's a huge learning curve. But I think that it's how your approach, right? Sometimes it's not going to be very good. Sometimes, unfortunately, you lose your cool a little bit. But I think that one of the things I see, if you take something personal, you bring in emotion, and I think that's where you fail. I think, yes, we'll all get emotional, but know how to let it go and learn from it and grow from it. I think through failure is what creates success.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you got a job to do.
Absolutely.
And it's like, hey, if we can't move the needle forward with the team we have to either switch people out or just like a pro sports team, right?
But the most important thing is that you need to know the project, you need to know your trade, and you need to know how many people you need per basis on the project. So, and this project goes by. So for me, that's the key element. I remember you told me one time that you said, why these three guys this for this manhole? Only we need two. So when he does the field trip and he look at it, it's the way he composed his structure and had the teams ready to go. So it's very important as well. How you ID those employees that are good or bad, or let's say you say they need to do this job in 4 hours, for instance. And it takes 2 days to do it. We deal every day with those.
Yeah, no. So mainly that's when you bring experience into the picture, right? I think that if you know and you've done it before and you know how long it would take, you have your checks and balances. And sometimes I do have guys that they have 4 guys when they're supposed to have 2, and so you so you learn to identify that, right?
Yeah,
Mike. I mean, and once you get into that and you're able to identify it, you say, okay, so what do I do? What's my approach? And I really think about it because I really, how can I?
Do I use the stick?
Do I use the stick, or do I do I approach them with honey? Right?
Or honey, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I bring them in and I point things out. I was in a meeting one day and I was told, hey, you guys are taking twice as long as these other individuals. And so I was sitting there and I told my guys, hey, I need you all to take a look at it and figure out how we can get more efficient and get it done less than half the time. And everybody was sitting there and just going, oh, yeah, you know what, we can do that. And there was one guy that said no, and I pointed him out. And I said, hey, if with that mentality, you would never sit in my seat.
Yeah.
You right away, you're shutting your door. And I think by that statement, you closed everything off. So that means your capacity is limited. I'm looking for people that are willing to rack their brain, strategize, create structure, to be able to finish the project, not in less than half, but a lot less.
Figure it out. Figure out how to do it.
Yeah. So you really have to have an open mind because there is going to be challenges, and there is going to be challenges, and sometimes some people may play the victim. I don't believe in that. I believe in being victorious, right? I believe in going after it and doing hard work.
Nice. Nice.
Right. So that's me though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, talking project management in general, a lot of people, especially a lot of small business owners, if they haven't been in a construction type field, they may not be familiar with even the term project management or what it means or what it entails. So.
Yeah, no, in project management, you look at budgets, and your job is to really bring in the jobs within the budget. You get a paperwork coming in, you have to do your research. You got to make sure that whoever the crew's out there is actually, and the supervisor are actually fulfilling their obligations and what their duties are. For example, if all of a sudden we have a delay and it's because a machine went down, we got to get a machine immediately to replace it to make sure we stay on track for schedule and keep it within budget. All of a sudden we'll run into, say, hard rock, and in the hard dig we use specialized equipment, so that'll slow it down. That'll slow down the project,
increase the cost,
and increase the cost. Yeah. So if you forget to address critical paths, then that's where you can get hurt. You always have to look at the critical path, and that's the work, and that's the I can say the duties of a project manager, right? Because I look at it to where if you study the project and you drive it, you relate to it, there's no reason why it shouldn't come in but on budget or under, because plus you can value engineer things, right? Sometimes they'll ask for different type of designs, but our design saves us, 20% of the cost. So that's the project manager's responsibility. Make sure everything's reported, make sure everything is tracked, and make sure that the client, especially the client's happy.
Now, so we have budget as one consideration.
Yes.
We also have time, or your deadline.
Yes.
And then we also have capacity.
Yes.
Is another major concern.
And right now, capacity with the labor force is a little tough.
Capacity is tough, right?
Tough.
Well, because capacity can be, we have capacity, and then we also have these random things that happen throughout a project. Like you said, we could hit harder material than we're thinking if we're digging.
Yes.
That causes delays and things like that. And you have to be able to tell your client up front, hopefully they understand this, that if we're going to do our best to deliver on the deadline, but if we happen to hit a certain something, or it's like if you're a plumber and you're just replacing a toilet, but you take the toilet off and you go, oh, we've got some problems down. You tell the homeowner, I could just replace the toilet, but in 4 more months, you're going to have another really big problem. Yeah. So you have to be able to kind of let the client know ahead of time, here's some potential pitfalls we may have. And if we don't address those, we will address those when they happen, but we have to look out for those 4 things. We still got a budget, we still got time, we still got capacity, and we still got these externalities.
So yeah, when we look at that, we do allowances, right? So
that's a question, because that's the ideal work, ideal. But what about government contracts? Because government contracts, they say, no, you have
to deliver on the date no matter what happens.
Oh, absolutely. No. So
even there are some change orders, but you know what difficult it is.
No, it is. So that's when we'll have a team and meet with the project managers and say, okay, we have this change order coming, and it's going to cost us, say, a week or 2 weeks per se. So we have to also build a strategy for overtime costs and everything to make sure that project gets delivered on time. Once we do that, we actually bring in the field crew that's out there. We'll sit down, we'll go over what we're doing, and we'll line them out and make sure it comes in on time. Because liquid LDs, they call them liquidated damages. When those set in, they're not good.
Not pleasant.
No, not pleasant.
You know what? Sometimes you hit for instance, fiber optic or something like that.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's kind of $25,000 per hour. Sometimes liquid damages. So
wow.
Yeah, and high end, on the high end, but still, those is super expensive.
No, they are. So we were crossing the line one day. We had to have standbys, and we had to use special equipment to dig. And if we were to anywhere damage that line or something should happen, it was probably $1 million a minute.
Wow.
So wow. It gets pretty high up there.
Cha-ching.
Yeah. So it's all a matter how you study the project and how much risk are you willing to take.
Yeah, and every project has problems.
Yes.
Right. Is there ever a perfect? Have you ever had one that's just been perfect?
I've had jobs that are going very well. But those
you didn't say perfect, huh?
No.
He's like, they go very well.
They've gone very well, but it's it just depends. I mean,
Yeah.
the ground conditions, because we're not Superman, right? We don't have X-ray eyes, and we don't know what's on the ground. And sometimes we encounter things that nobody ever knew.
Or they mark where stuff is, and you dig around it, and you still hit it because it's been mismarked. Or
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
that can happen too. So.
Exactly.
Is there insurance for that type of stuff?
Yes, there is.
What do they call that? What kind of insurance is that?
That's a great question for my wife, actually.
We can get her on the phone. Hold on.
Yeah, let's get her on the phone.
We'll patch her in.
I think it's damage insurance.
Damage insurance. Okay.
I forgot what it's called, but yeah, there's insurance for that. But then again, something like that can actually just destroy a company.
Just destroy a company. Yeah,
it can
absolutely.
hurt a company really, really bad. Because it's and then it isn't a fun one.
Well, there's nothing worse than as a small business owner, you're bidding a project that's too big for you, and a lot of times we go, "Wow, this is a great opportunity," and then you have to look and say, "What's our capacity? Can we actually deliver?" Mm-hmm. And that's tough. I had situations like that in my business where, they wanted a certain amount of products or something delivered at a certain amount of time, and it was like, if everything went completely perfect, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. It still is a maybe, but it would be, if one little thing happens, I had to go back to them and say, we can't deliver that on your time frame.
And people have more respect for you for that.
They do, because they said, hey, we'll give you all the work you want. I was dealing with a larger company, and they're like, we will give you literally all the work you can handle, but if you drop the ball on this, you will never give you anything again.
Yep.
And it was a big company, and I went,
you really
I said, guys, I got to tell you, I can't guarantee delivery of this. It's too many variables that are out of my control.
No, absolutely. I think that's when risk, how much risk are you willing to take?
Yep.
Sets in, and I think that's when you have to really think about, am I really going to do this or not?
Yeah.
What's the strategy? And yeah, I've actually turned down quite a bit of work last year because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the older and wiser and more experience you get in a project, you can tell at this point in your career if this is a dog or not. Right?
Absolutely.
You're like,
yeah,
I don't want to touch this one. This is where you get you need a specialist. This is going to cost a lot. I just have a feeling this is not going to go well.
No, and some of those jobs, you do the budget, and because of the condition and the complexity of the project, the budget is nowhere near the cost.
Yeah.
It like doubles and sometimes even triples the budget. And I've seen it, and I've seen the complaints about it, and I just that's a position I'd rather give somebody else.
Let somebody else handle that set of problems.
Especially in this time with the supplier change issues, the product is are in the sky. I mean, there's like you buy a product that was $2 per piece. Now it's $4, $5 per piece.
So we build structures. We build drop inlets for the storm drains and big transition structures and lumber. The plywood, the 4x8 sheets right now. We were buying them at $16, $17, a sheet. Right now they're $70.
$70.
Yes,
yeah.
from 16
wow.
to 70.
From $16 to $70.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
17, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, even if we were buying it at 30 and all the way
Still,
up to 70, it's just
ridiculous.
It's astronomical. So we're really conscientious of the fact that we just don't want another repeat of a 2008.
Yeah, exactly.
Like but it's I don't want to get political here, but I'm hoping that that everything straightens out and we keep going in business and keep growing. But I truly believe that I guess your surroundings. I truly believe in helping the community and paying it forward, right?
Yep, that's awesome.
So,
how do you handle the financing of a job? Especially some of these are pretty large. Some take months or even years to complete. What's your longest timeline that you guys typically have?
2 years.
2 years
for the Raider Stadium.
Okay, so something like a stadium, beautiful stadium, by the way, right? Every time I drive by it, I'm very proud.
It gives me a headache.
You're like, I'm not even looking. I'm not even looking at it.
No, I'm just kidding. You know what? It was a great project. I'm proud to have been a part of it.
Kept you up a few nights, huh?
Yeah, for quite some time. Yes.
So on a project that goes more than a month, let's say, you do have to employ some sort of financing to make sure everything is okay.
Yeah, you do. But you know, at the time, and now we're talking about small business, and I know that's what you're I think that with my experience and what I went through, you know, you go and apply for credit lines and everything, and I don't blame the system or anything like that, but it was tough for me to get a credit line, right? Yeah. And I never did. But we had a plan for what we had, the revenue that was being received, right, on receivables, and then we had to build a strategy to pay the payables. Mm-hmm. And at the same time that we were doing that, and that's where my wife was really good at. If you have a person like that on your team, it's almost failure proof, even though it does get hard. Sure. And don't get me wrong, we've had some really rough times, but if you have that person there that knows how to watch, and I'm not even going to say the money, you watch the numbers, mm-hmm. and you make the numbers work. I've always told a lot of the fellers that work for me, and the people that work for me, right? And I also have women working for me there at the office, and I always tell them, I go, look at the number and make the number work. And after the number works, then look at its value, which is the money. But if you look at the value up ahead and don't look at the number, then you get captured by the value. Just make the number work.
Make the number work.
Make the number work.
Great
and
advice.
Then after that, you see the value.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the money part.
Really good advice. Now, you've been in this business 14, 15 years. You started from scratch.
Yes, I did.
I mean, literally started from scratch.
Yes, my growth started the 4 years prior.
4 years prior, okay.
Yeah.
Was there a time or maybe something where you just thought for sure we are going to fail? Like,
yeah.
How many times did that happen?
You know, one of my biggest challenges was probably a year ago. I was going through some rough times. My wife and I we got really challenged on some health issues on mm-hmm. my side of the family and on her side, and there was a couple of things that weren't captured on time, and it really put us in a little bit of a bad situation.
Sure.
But we were able to sit back and my wife and I build a little bit of a strategy to where, okay, so we don't have a credit line, and to this day we still don't. We don't have a credit line to lean on, and that's when friendship really and family kicks in, right? Mm-hmm. What I was saying, I was very blessed to meet a good friend, and he helped me out. He helped me out. I mean, I had help from a couple of different people.
Sure.
I had a friend of mine. One of them, he says, hey, I called him at 3 a.m, and it was 2:30 in the morning. He answered the call. He says, hey, so what's going on? He said, you know what, I'm going through all this issue, and right now I don't know what's going to happen, and I know you owe me some money, but I'm going to need it tomorrow. He sent me a picture with his shoes off, and he says, I'm looking for it right now. And so he did. He helped me out.
That's great.
He helped me out, and I also got a lot of help from another friend of mine that was with one of the organizations. And we made it happen, and we recovered, and we're still going. We could only get stronger from that, right?
That's excellent.
I can't elaborate too much on it.
We always need mentors in business, and yes. I'm a firm believer that if you're at a point in your business where you're growing and such, mentors do present themselves. And
yes.
I had one in my business, and he was an old supermarket marketing guy, mm-hmm. and met this guy, and he pulled me aside one day, and he says, something's wrong with your business.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he didn't know anything about what I did or anything. And he said, you're doing something wrong. You're just doing something wrong. We're going to sit down and meet once a week.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay. And he was this old retired guy. And he said, I understand kind of what you're doing. And I had an advertising agency. And so he kind of sat down with me. He made me check in with him every Friday for about a year. and for free. This guy just did it out of the goodness of his heart.
That's awesome.
And one of the first things he made me do is he taught me about cash flow management, which I didn't really know about. I was always, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we just fly by the seat of our pants. So
Absolutely.
And I'm a firm believer too. I think entrepreneurs make good decisions probably 75% of the time just on gut instinct, right?
Yeah, the other percent, they're horrible.
The other percent, they're really bad.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, no, that's very true. But
yeah, so I mean, I was very fortunate too to have somebody, and it sounds like you've had really great mentors.
Yeah, no, and at the same time when I was going through that whole thing, I was, and I was losing my father. It was just a mess, and I was thinking, what else can go wrong, right? And but all you can do is look at life and accept what you have and become the best that you can after you go through that big bad situation.
Yeah.
That's what I look at.
Great philosophy. Yeah, absolutely.
So.
But the mentors and the friendship come from the hard work. It's when you met the right people. It's when you had the right systems. And also, Juan is the person that helps people when they need it. And when you do that, when you need assistance somewhere, somehow, help comes to you.
People come to your aid.
Yeah, it's always like the philosophy of the hard work, but also need to be smart and be around the people who knows better than you are on different categories, on different stages of your business, because that's the way to help you grow and grow and grow in different directions.
Yeah.
I remember one thing, Juan. Tell me, I remember when the Las Vegas convention was doing the loop. Remember the loop?
Yeah.
And no names, nothing. And I will mention just one name.
Really?
Guy Martin. He's an institution in construction from Martin Harris. Everybody knows. And I asked him, Guy, what is your opinion? Because this company, the bid is so low. And he said, I don't know how we'll do it, but for the best of Las Vegas, I hope it's a good thing. That's what he told me. And by the way, the underground thing is very dangerous. So I remember I asked Juan, he said, I don't have any idea how they will do it. So they did, but now we had a little tiny tube to go through with the Tesla.
Yeah.
On the Vegas convention versus what was planned in the past. But tell me how you envisioned that project before it is now, but how you knew was wet and Caliche and all those problems around the Las Vegas convention.
Well, I guess one of the things you look at is you look at the structure of what you're going to have there to bring the project successful, right? And I have total respect for any businessman that takes a risk, right? And I truly believe when you talk about different levels of business, there is different levels. I think that you go from a $1 million company to a $20 million company to a $40 million company, and then you get so big that some of the revenue you want to show that. I guess not necessarily a loss, but just take that risk and make it happen. I think that's what happened with that company.
Yeah.
I think that and it's a statement, right? Because I think that it's all based on how the closure is going to be. Because a statement always closes any thought, right?
Exactly.
And I think I have total respect for the owner, for Elon Musk, because I heard him speak one day, and I always thought of it. I always thought about it this way, and he said exactly what one of the things I looked at is that everybody knows I work quite a bit, but I always thought to myself, if I'm working 70 hours a week, I'm 30 hours ahead of the guys working 40. So by the time he realizes, he's not gonna even have a look at my taillights, right? So in that, and that's one of the things I always done. I go, the farther I get ahead, I think the better off I'm gonna be. But there's sacrifice, like I said. My family. I really did sacrifice my family.
Elon didn't see his kids much in the early days either. I could almost gather. I don't know if he does nowadays too.
Yeah. You get ingrained. I don't know.
belongs to the country.
I will. Yeah,
National treasure.
When we took on the stadium, I mean, I slept in my office. I got up at 1 a.m. I was in the office looking and figuring and scratching my head. What did I get myself into? But at the same time, one day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's a landscaper, and he says, You shouldn't beat yourself up. I go, what do you mean? He says, well, don't you think it's a blessing? And I said, you know what? I think you're right about that one.
It is a blessing.
It is, because it brought me to meet a lot of very, very well-known people, very successful people. It got me into conversations with people like, you can say Guy Martin, Sean Stewart, and all those type of guys, and they're good people. I don't look at my past to cry about it or to feel bad about it. I look at my past to learn and gain the experience and gain the wisdom from it. Right. So
very good.
That's what I do.
We did a series of town halls when COVID hit, and I got to tell you, we didn't know how to do this. We started getting phone calls from people, and we were getting a dozen calls a day, and people were confused. They were upset. They were depressed. Some were suicidal even.
That's terrible.
It was an awful situation. And so we said we need to give them kind of a voice, and we all talked, and our boss luckily said, hey, let's move ahead with this. And we started a series of town halls, and we brought the SBA in every week to talk about the PPP loan programs and things like that. Yeah. And you guys were very supportive of that with the Latin Chamber too. And what was funny is we had one of our guests came on, and his name's Bobby Kuntz, and he gave us this quote, and he says, if you commit, then you'll figure it out. And we literally took that as our team. We wrote it on our board. We still have it up there. Commit, we'll figure it out. And we didn't know how to do any of this stuff. We'd never done a Zoom with multiple people and guests and whatever. And we figured it out. And we ended up doing about 80 different town halls in English and Spanish in 2020. And then last year we took on the challenge of building an online virtual video classroom. And we didn't really know what we were doing. We just kind of started. We said we'll do it, and we just figured it out. And our goal was to have 50 videos done in a year. And we ended up getting 130 of them done. And only because we just said, we don't know about this. We didn't know about podcasting. We had never used a mic before or whatever. We figured it out. We got a studio built, and so you can move mountains, man, if you get your mindset to it. And as you know, any project takes commitment, but it also takes the planning, the funding. Yes. It takes everything like that, pulling it together. So it's all pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people want to jump into the big leagues right away. I have my experience and what I've done in the past. I in a way I kind of did, but then I had to realize, my financials didn't really support that. Yeah, and when you realize, look at your financials and build that strategy to start, baby steps, and then look at your resources.
Exactly.
I was looking at an article the other day. It had a bunch of ladders and the guy standing on it looking at over a wall. And the statement was, if you don't know how to use your resources, it doesn't matter how many you have.
That's a great quote. We're going to steal that.
Awesome. So you got to look at your resources and really figure it out. Approach. Don't be afraid. And what I've noticed, I had an interesting experience when I first started. I was out there reaching out, giving cards to people, and I approached this really big company, which I will not say the name of, but and I say, hey, here's my card. I can do budgets, I can do this, and I presented myself trying to sell my the company and stuff, and they said, big smile on my face and everything. I gave them a card, walked away. They tore it in half and threw it in the garbage, and I saw what they did. So I had, and this is why I talk about personal and emotion, right? So I could have went back and created a scene, or sit back and know that one day I would be competing against them, and I'm very blessed that I am.
Nice, very nice.
Right,
that's a great story.
So, it's been an uphill battle, but I love that because they said, you know what, these guys have it easy and all this other stuff, and we work 10 times, 5 times harder. I go, I love that. And they go, why is that? I go, because the more I work, the more prepared I am to win when I jump in the ring.
Exactly.
Right? So I could care less.
That's
I like to move forward with what I do.
Well, thank you very much, Juan, for being with us today. Thank you,
problem.
Carlos.
Thank you.
Some really good, enlightening messages, just in general about entrepreneurship and moving forward and managing your projects more effectively and better, and taking risks. I think that's the bottom line. You got to take risks in this business and in any business, right?
Anyways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't overstep it.
Don't overstep it. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Once again, this has been the Biz Life podcast, and we're brought to you by UNR Extension, Small Business Education Program. We're happy to here to serve you today. My name is Mike Bindrup, and go have a great day in your business. Thank you.